We called the game the heroism. It was a gift from the Creator. We played it to strengthen our medicines when someone fell sick. Then we played it with all our life force. We ran from field to village, through streams and forests. There were few rules and no boundaries. Our bodies were strong and unprotected, and we invoked the spirits of the swift and powerful animals to guide us. This is the game we call the heroism.
Has all the intricate plays of hockey, football, basketball. It's just a tremendously exhilarating sport.
It's a game that demands reflex, stamina, speed, dexterity.
A game would be used in certain healing rites on certain occasions and is still done today.
I think that when I hold that stick, it just I feel more powerful. I feel like I got a power within me because it's part of our history and our culture, and it's so still alive. It's one of the things that keeps us alive,
When non-natives came and first saw the game, they thought it was a very violent game because of the enthusiasm that the people put into it. But it was very misinterpreted. It was never revealed, the spiritual component that our people put into it.
Diary entry, August the 14th, 1827. The Indian player made a circuit of many hundred yards amongst the trees, with 30 or 40 swift-footed fellows stretching after him, and he at full speed, holding his stick high over his head, sometimes ducking to avoid a blow, or leaping to escape a trip, or breaking his shins on a fallen tree, but seldom losing hold of his treasure. It made the spectators breathless to look at them.
Montreal, 1836. Lacrosse spectators are increasing. Montreal merchants organize competitions between native teams. The game draws more interest, and the new Canadians want to play. The first non-native lacrosse club is formed in Montreal in 1856. If the new clubs can't beat the natives at their game, they'll change the rules. George Beers is a lacrosse player and a passionate fan of the game. Over the next few years, he develops new rules for lacrosse. Now, instead of open fields, there will be boundaries, and only 12 will be allowed on a team.
Lacrosse and the wind for running, which comes as natural to the redskin as his dialect, has to be gained on the part of the paleface by a gradual course of practice and training. All Indians are not good players, but I never knew one without an aptitude for the game. George Beers.
Through the efforts of Beers and others, lacrosse grows in popularity. Many communities boast their own lacrosse team. In 1867, the National Lacrosse Association is formed. 2 teams vie for the national title. The Montreal Lacrosse Club loses to the native team from Ganawage. There is now no better lacrosse team in the world. In 1876, 2 Canadian teams are invited to play lacrosse at Windsor Castle. A native team, dressed in striped shirts, red knickers, and white stockings, is matched against the conservatively dressed Montreal Lacrosse Club. Queen Victoria is one of the spectators.
The Indians, who had most curious names, came up headed by their chief. They were strangely painted, and some were very dark. The game was very pretty to watch. I gave both Canadians and Indians one of my signed photographs.
While Canada embraces its newfound game, it now rejects the people who invented it. In 1880, Native teams are barred from all championship play. Labeled as professionals, Natives are denied amateur status by non-Native rule makers.
They weren't good enough to compete against Natives. So they said, you can't play in our championship. So our elders told us that they said that's okay. So they played against themselves, the different villages. It was their game, and they made just a ribbon, and they would compete for that. And they would visit one another.
Non-Native teams recruit Native ringers to help them win. Chosen for the fairness of their skin, they're warned not to speak or respond in their native tongue.
It was said that even the opposition teams knew that somebody was a ringer, that they were playing for them, because they had a ringer too.
My grandfather played lacrosse, and he played lacrosse with a team from Six Nations that ended up going to the World's Fair in St. Louis at the turn of the century. When they arrived there, many of the people arriving at the fair were more fascinated with the fact that these were Iroquoian Indians or Iroquoian savages.
In 1904 and 1908, Canada wins Olympic gold in lacrosse. Railway builder Donald Mann donates the Mann Cup, a solid gold trophy for the Senior Lacrosse Championship. Top lacrosse players earn more than baseball star Ty Cobb. But with the rising popularity of baseball and the impact of World War I, lacrosse suffers. Attempts to re-establish lacrosse after the war meet with many obstacles. The law prohibits games on Sundays.
Memorandum to the Attorney General. There is no doubt some Sunday game promoters could be prosecuted for a breach of the Lord's Day Act. It is not advisable to antagonize the Indians needlessly, but the earlier the matter is dealt with, the less violent any resistance is apt to be.
It has always been an Aboriginal game. It has always been a very Iroquoian game, and efforts have been made throughout history to claim it, to take it away. One of the major ones is that they felt in the whole acculturating process, lacrosse occupied too much of their time, and if they were playing lacrosse, they were not planting their fields, they were not going to church, they were not doing a number of things. One of the things that I've always been interested in lacrosse have been the people who are behind the scenes that you don't often see. Number one, the lacrosse stick makers in the past, who took a great deal of skill in making a lacrosse stick. The Herb Martins, the John Gibsons, the Enos Williams. These were people who would work over months to create a stick to bend and twist and steam a hickory stick.
If it was possible, I'd like to see all our boys use the wooden stick. I'd take any one of them wooden sticks over the plastic stick. A lot of the players that use a wood stick call the plastic sticks Tupperware.
With a wooden stick, you can feel everything, and it's just like another glove to you. It becomes like a piece of cloth, and it's so pliable that you can feel every movement in it. With a plastic stick, everything is spinning and coming out fast, and that doesn't conform like this leather does. This leather is just like a piece of cloth. Like so many slippers. Plus, I figure you have more control with a wooden stick, and plus with With a wooden handle, the whole frame, you got more leverage to fire a ball with it too.
The greatest distortion of the fundamentals and the skills of the game was the introduction of the plastic stick. And so the game isn't the same game. And so if you're going to sell it as a professional sport, let the hickory stick back in. If you really want good defense, bring the hickory stick back. And if you really want to see the skill goals, you gotta bring the hickory stick back.
In the early 1930s, lacrosse moves indoors to hockey arenas left empty in the summer. It is now called box lacrosse. Native players are now allowed to compete in the new professional leagues. Field lacrosse is still a competitive game at the international level and with Canadian women's teams. In fact, women's field lacrosse continues to be played most closely to the original native game.
During that time, our people saw through our eyes that we had indeed changed. We wanted to be somebody else now. So in one way, our world was shrinking, and our worldview of ourselves was at its lowest. To try to compete, when box lacrosse came around, we took another viewpoint, to try to be as good as somebody else, to try to compete in his own world or be as good at it. Competition, they call it. At that time, we've left our spiritual connection to our game and took on a different way. We were good at it. And perhaps it can be said that we drank with the best of them at times.
Now, native players must leave their homes, families, and jobs in order to compete with the best in North America. While playing lacrosse in California, Harry Smith from the Six Nations community is discovered by Hollywood. Harry goes on to play Tonto in the Lone Ranger series and acts in feature films. He adopts his sports nickname of Silverheels. When Hollywood asks him to speak Mohawk in a film, Harry takes creative license.
We all raced up to used to be the Capitol Theater in Brantford, and some of the Mohawk that Jay used, or Tonto or Harry, I know him as Harry. Some of the words he knew didn't fit in with the parts of the role that he was playing, and everybody burst out laughing when they'd hear him say something. Most of the people in there could understand Mohawk, and that's what he was trying to talk, but he'd put it in the wrong place, that's all.
Ross Paulus plays on the Peterborough team. They win the Minto Cup 4 years in a row in the early 1950s. But as the team's only native, he endures abuse from all sides, beginning with his own teammates.
But we got together afterwards, and they were telling me how mean they treated me when I first went to Peterborough. And just right off the face-offs, they'd crack me to, in the legs and everything. And they wondered whether I was yellow or not. By hitting me and not me not retaliating. But I wanted to make the team. I didn't go up there to fight.
They say that lacrosse is such a violent game, and it's this and it's that, and it's not violent. When I wish they wouldn't have used that word and put it in any type of a sport, because a game played properly is never violent. It's the people that play the game that make it that way.
I had played, I call it good lacrosse, senior A lacrosse, for years, and then my family was following me around at different places, in Huntsville and Peterborough, After they started to go into school, my wife said, that's enough, I'm not traveling anymore. Education is more important than lacrosse. So I was going to be a little different. I was going to try and start a team down here. So when I came home, I talked to several of the players, and I talked to some parents of players, and I talked to some elders, old-timers. And by the time I got a feeling of whether they would help me or support the thing, I was astounded how much they were interested.
The players respected him, and he knew how to coach, obviously. And he had 2 winning teams. They won 2 Canadian Senior B championships. A coach couldn't have done any more than that.
Most of Ross and Wilma Paulus's 13 children ended up with an interest in lacrosse. But one, Gaylord, showed early promise as a champion. Gaylord played junior lacrosse for 4 years with the Oshawa Green Gales during a period when the team won 7 straight Minto Cup championships. He was twice voted most valuable player in the final series.
Of all the players that I've seen, I'd say Gaylord Paulus was certainly the most skilled player, and he was worth the price of admission alone. And his ball handling and his passing, and the fact that he was such a clean player, he took so much abuse, and he had the size that he could have retaliated and been a physical force that way too, but he didn't. He took that, and he was just a fine team player.
Every year, when the season started, we had to buy him 2 new braces for his knees. So finally I said to him one year, I said, Gaylord, when are those knees ever going to get better? He says, I don't wear the braces because I got bad knees. I wear the braces, I get so many slashes that the braces just, the steel down the both sides, keep those, those whacks off my shin bones and my kneecaps.
Follow through with it. I felt like I was knocked around quite a bit, but I didn't feel like I was any better than anyone else. I think whenever you have the ball, as amount of time I had, you're going to take the knocks, and if you don't want the knocks, don't touch the ball. Simple as that.
I used to tell your dad and all the players, I'd leave my stick out. So if you're going to shift. When I play with my grandsons, I can't move around, being handicapped and wearing braces all over the place now. I can't move around to show them what I'd like to show them. Gaylord and I are the only 2 in Canada, father and son, in the player bracket of the Hall of Fame. And then I find out that Christopher, that's his aim, to make the Hall of Fame. But that's how you practice.
I was in, I think, Pee-wee first year, and we got our pictures done, and we got a mug, like a lacrosse card done, like a hockey card, and on the back it had our dreams and stuff like that, and our hobbies, and my hobbies were lacrosse and stuff like that, and my dream was to be in the Lacrosse Hall of Fame with my dad and my grandpa.
I'm a far better artist than I am a lacrosse coach. As an artist, I pride myself in being very distinct from everybody else. And that's based on my choice of materials. I choose to work in marble and bronze. They take a beautiful polish, and once they're complete, you get the beauty of the luster, the form, and there's the hardness of the material. And a lot of times I think I view the players that way. A lot of these guys are rough, tough, rugged, hard-edged kind of guys. And just with a little bit of polishing and a little bit of prompting, they look like superstars. They act like superstars. They are superstars. And I think that's what your community needs. What the world needs is more heroes. And some of these guys in 1992 became heroes and still are heroes.
Congratulations, you had a tremendous tournament. What does it mean to win a Minto Cup?
Oh, it means everything. Everything you could imagine.
We partied all the way back on the plane. There was like camera crews and stuff like that from televisions and stuff. And we went, like we rode a bus back to the reserve. And when we got onto the reserve, there was fire trucks and police cars. So we all boarded those, and we were about a good mile, good 2.5 miles out of the Shawinigan. This is a main little village there on a reserve. It just kind of made you tingle inside, you know, that you've really done it then. Because like when we won it, like we just didn't win it for our own reserve or our own people, or just us. Like we won it for Indian people across Canada, you know.
In September 1994, the Six Nations Chiefs win the game's top prize, the Mann Cup. First Nations and non-native athletes playing together. There is no better lacrosse team in the world.
Everybody, whether they're a sport fan or not, has seen a hockey game or a baseball game or a football game one time or another. But so many, even sports fans, have never seen a lacrosse game. And there's something wrong there that these people have not been introduced to it. And I think that's where they've got to get out and sell it to those people.
I still think its potential is enormous. Here we live in an era where people make up sports. You know, and they have these crazy sports you see on TV that are made into somebody's, you know, feeble mind, where we have this natural game with roots deep in North America.
You get nothing out of life unless you live it. And you get nothing out of lacrosse unless you play it. The more involved you get in life, the more things you do, the more things you experience, the more you travel, the more people you meet, the more dialogues you get into with people, the more views you share. I mean, you're living a full life. We're the same in lacrosse. I mean, the more you get into the play, the more shots you take at net, the more loose balls you go into the corners for, the more hits you take, the more goals you prevent. It's all part of the game. It's part of the gusto of it. That's what makes the game fun. That's what makes life fun. Being involved, full tilt.
No matter where you go in the Iroquois community, you'll see people come out and watch the game. You see it played in such enthusiasm. And that spiritual aspect of our game is coming back. And when it finds its way back here, pride will find its way back to our nation.
You've had 500 years to show us your better way. If this don't have the end good, this poverty and pain, why can't we make you see the light? We are red, we will not be white. Why must push always come to share? Why must we fight for what's already ours? You took away our homes, our language and our land. Don't forget all that you have learned. choice is just